Charles Malki, biologist and plant expert with Ivy Organics, where we grow cool plants. And today we're going to be talking about wintertime care for your tropical plants. And that includes your citrus, your avocados, your mangoes, and a lot of your other evergreen plants that remain green throughout the winter. And with that, winter time, according to this company over here, SA Southern AG, according to the directions which I'll share with you, they said winter time is the best time for applying their nutritional spray. And I've done some research to find out why. Why winter and why not the rest of the year? And I found some research that's kind of split on this issue. The first one being is that winter time, most plants, even if they're still green and they're still producing fruits and flowering, it is the dormant time of the year. Plants are growing a lot less in the winter than they otherwise would be spring, summer, and fall. So in the winter, when it also comes to fertilizing, you typically do nothing. The time for actually enriching the soil and feeding the soil, and especially if you're doing things right, being organically, then you're going to be adding some supplements to the soil in the spring, and again in the summer, and again in the fall, and depending on if you're using liquid feeds, you might have to repeat a little bit more often, using a liquid feed such as a fish fertilizer or a kelp meal based liquid fertilizer. So depending on how you care for your plants, again in the fall as well as the spring and the summer, the soil is warmer and it's got more microbes, including earthworms, nematodes, beneficial bacteria, and so much good that's going on in the soil. When you're adding and enriching the soil with organic material, those soil microbes are able to break it down and feed the plants. But in the winter, on the contrary, you're battling two things. One, the fact that the temperature is cooler means you've got less microbes in the soil. If you add organic materials to the soil in the winter, and that's the reason it's advisable not to add fertilizer to your plants in the winter, especially organic ones, the reason is it's possibly going to just rot and not decay properly, being there's just not enough beneficial organisms in your soil to break it down and ultimately feed the plants. But something you can do, and this is the time to do it, and your plants will benefit from it, is adding a nutritional spray such as this SA Southern AG Citrus Nutritional Spray, which I'll zoom in and you can read it in just a minute. One of the benefits of doing this for your plant is it's adding up to 5 micronutrients for your plants. We know that the macronutrients for plants are 3: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Those are the nutrients that the plants need in largest quantities. But it's not the only nutrients plants need. They also need micronutrients as well. And this product, and I'll actually now bring it to you. So again, here's the label. It's SA Southern AG Citrus Nutritional Spray for use on your citrus and avocados, mangoes, and other tropical fruits. And on the back here, you can see that it has magnesium. It also has sulfur and iron and manganese, as well as zinc. So these are 5 additional micronutrients that will benefit your plants by helping them, 1, be greener, 2, be healthier, 3, be more productive with flowers if the goal is flowering, with fruiting if the goal is fruits, by making sure that the plant has all of the essential elements it otherwise needs. The plant can then reach its genetic potential and give you a lot of whatever it is you're hoping to accomplish. Now the research is split in regards to nutritional sprays. Is it necessary or just a waste of time and money? And again, there's a lot of research that goes both ways. But the majority of the research I've read said it is beneficial. The plants do absorb a lot of their nutrients through their leaves, so it will receive it. The amount that it's able to absorb is limited. It's small. It's not the, as a lot of research goes to say, it's not the only way to feed your plants, and it's not the main way of feeding your plants as well. The primary way is, again, through the roots, and that's how it absorbs the majority of its elements and nutrients that it needs for success. But the nutritional spray, and again, these are micronutrients, so it doesn't need that much of it, but it will absorb those micronutrients and help benefit the plant as well. And a lot of farmers and orchard growers across the country are using nutritional sprays to maximize their harvest within their farms. So it is something that is being used by a lot of growers and even professionally to accomplish best yields in their garden. But again, I always like to take my research to another level. It's not the only thing you can do for your garden. There are other ways aside from just using this nutritional spray. For using it, what it recommends is also on this back of the label is it says to apply it between December and February. So we're doing this video at the end of November so that it'll give you an opportunity to do this across the country, wherever you're at, or across the world between December and February as this label recommends. But what I've brought here is a sprayer where we can add the product to it, and it recommends putting anywhere from 1 tablespoon to 2 tablespoons per gallon of water. And this here being a bottle that is 32 ounces, I've done the math here where it says 128 ounces is in 1 gallon. So I calculated that 32 ounces means it's a quarter of a gallon. So all I'll need to do is apply a quarter of a tablespoon of the product. So we're just going to open this here. And I've got my spray bottle here with 32 ounces of water. I'm going to add anywhere from, because I'm diluting this, to a quarter to a half of a tablespoon to this 32 ounce bottle so that the math matches. And we're going to simply do this. What I've also done and then shake it thoroughly. What I've also done right before the video is I've hosed down the deck. I'm actually going to add a little more water, and the reason for this is to make sure that this product doesn't stain your decks if there's any decks that you're concerned about. So we're going to hose the deck down a little bit more. And now we're going to apply the spray. When applying the spray, it's important to get underneath the leaf and make sure you're applying it to both the bottom as well as the top of the leaf. Again, there's research that says, what does it matter if you get on the top or the bottom of the leaf? Aren't both surfaces are able to absorb the nutritional spray? And the answer is yes and no. The research, and I've done a little bit further digging to determine that depending on the type of the plant, there are more benefits of making sure you get the underneath part of the plant more so than for other types of plants. And the split is depending on whether it's a dicot or a monocot. Monocots are, and it's referring to the first 2 leaves that come out of the seed. So when you plant a lemon seed, as we've got Meyer lemons to my left and Eureka lemons behind me, and I've got a Lisbon lemon in that corner. We're going to visit an orange tree that's behind you in just a minute. But what dicots are is that first 2 leaves, those embryonic leaves that come out, are usually 2 leaves for a dicot, I mean di for a 2, and then monocots such as corn, bananas, grasses generally form 1 leaf when it comes out of the seed, hence monocot. 1 leaf at germination being that first leaf. So again, your dicots are going to be your lemons, your oranges, your apples, I'm looking around the property to get some more ideas, your passion fruit, grapes, hibiscus, camellias, pomegranates. Those are all dicot plants. Your monocots again are your bananas, sunflower. I've got some lemongrass, your lawn. Those are all monocots. So at least you have it distinguished. So the difference between the monocots and the dicots are the dicots have more stomata, which are the pores that the plant leaf exchanges gases, the carbon dioxide as well as the oxygen exchange, as well as perspiration. The exchange of water is also through the leaf as well. And the stomata is that breathing pore. So dicots have more stomata, more pores on the underside of the leaves than on their top, whereas monocots, the bananas, the sugar canes and grasses, are actually more balanced on both the top and the bottom. So that's something to keep in mind when spraying and treating your plants. Let me hose down the deck now that we've sprayed this plant. I'm going to show you the next step. Watch this. So there was a video that was published by John Merritt with the Consolidated Citrus Grove, and this was a YouTube video I found that was published by the Florida Grower. And in this video, John Merritt says that his citrus trees have actually endured less severe citrus greening, which is a disease that's affecting a lot of citrus growers across the country, where this citrus psyllid insect will gnaw on the plant, and basically the bacteria from its own body will go into the plant and cause a disease to the plant, where the plant will have deformed growth, but more importantly, the fruit develop lopsided, and again, citrus greening. The fruit typically will not ripen to its typical color. They typically remain green, and the sweetness is also affected. And the other worst part of it is typically once they're affected with this bacteria, within 3 to 5 years, it kills the tree as well. So what this guy John Merritt said is by applying these nutritional feeds, and he's like, it's not exclusively the only thing that the plants need, but he's noticed a decrease in the effects of citrus greening on his trees as a result of his application of nutritional sprays to his trees. The bottom line is, the healthier trees are, the more resistance they're going to be to disease, insect, and anything that could possibly compromise its health and its life. So the more you're doing for caring for your plants and making sure that they have everything available to them, just as we do with our own health by making sure we have a well-balanced diet, we exercise, we may be taking nutritional supplements, but the goal is to have a balanced diet, and you're doing the same thing for your trees so that when you pick your fruit, you're having the best, most delicious, most nutritious fruits and vegetables in your garden. And these are just tips to help you accomplish just that. So aside from having to go out to your store and look for a nutritional spray, there are other ways of taking care of your plants. When using a nutritional spray such as this, they're only recommending you apply it to your fruit trees once or twice a year. But if you do something that is homemade and homegrown, you can apply it throughout the whole year. And this is a product I want to share with you that's up here in front of us. What you see here is compost tea. And what I've added is I've got this bubbler that I picked up from Petco for, I believe I paid maybe $10 for. And the bubbler is at the very bottom. Here you can see I've attached it to a screwdriver, and the oxygen's coming out of this tip over here, that blue tip, and that's going all the way to the bottom. And what it's doing is it's oxygenating this mixture of this bucket that's ultimately filled with pure water. We've added it a day ago to make sure that all of the chlorine and any contaminants in the water were removed. And then we added some compost from our compost bin, which we're gonna do together, and I'll show you what's in it. So here's your compost here. We're gonna go and fill this up with some more compost so you can see what actually went into it before we go and make our own homemade nutritional spray for our fruit trees. Follow me. Keep it running. So here we are now in the corner of our property. We've got this bin that we're using for our compost, and this bin is full of leaves we've collected from the summer through the fall, and here we are now the second week of November. So this is loaded with leaves and cuttings that we took from our vegetable garden. This here may be a stalk from one of the plants, and you can see here it's like some bananas, and it's full of compost that we also got from some coffee grounds that we picked up from Starbucks Coffee. We took an entire trash bag worth of coffee grounds that are in here as well. There's a little bit of manure, so a lot of things in here. And what's ultimately happened is all of this material has now decayed into what appears to be soil, and it's exactly that. Very rich in nutrient soil. It's got a lot of the elements of the periodic table in here, and including those micronutrients that we read on the back of that product's label. And we can just take that and add that to our bucket. Let's take that over back to our compost tea. So now we've got about half a gallon worth of compost that we took from our compost bin. We're just going to add this here to the bucket. And what we also are going to do is I'm going to add, I've got this agave in the raw, and the goal is to add like some type of molasses, and again preferably organic, to make sure that there aren't any chemicals or preservatives that might kill the microorganisms that are here in the soil. In this soil. I don't know if you can zoom in actually pretty quickly before I add it. I don't know if you can see these little white things that are floating in there, and those are actually microorganisms that are in this compost tea. I don't know if you can see those little, if you get closer to those bubbles, I can see right in there those like little white things that are floating. Those are all little microorganisms. Those are actually living organisms that were in the compost that are floating. The oxygen is going to keep them alive until we use this product. I'm now going to add my agave in the raw, which is just adding sugar, which is going to continuously feed the microorganisms that are in here. We're talking about the bacteria, the nematodes, the fungi, all the living things that are broken down that compost are still in here, and we're going to use those to also enrich the plants when we go to do the nutritional foliar spray. Once you do this, we're gonna wait another day or two and allow it to consume all of the sugars. And the goal is we want those populations of beneficial bacteria. And the reason we know it's beneficial is we're adding oxygen to them. We want to make sure they're the aerobic beneficial bacteria that are going to be feeding the plants and benefiting them. We don't want to make sure there's anaerobic or or mold and slime happening in here. This is all good stuff that's happening for your plants in your garden. So we got beneficial fungi, beneficial bacteria, beneficial nematodes, a lot of beneficial microorganisms that we're hoping with the sugars will double, triple, and quadruple in population before we then go and apply it to our garden. Assuming that a day or two has already passed, I want to just continue this video, so we can wrap it up. But assuming this has already sat here for 2 days, as I did start this 2 days ago, I shouldn't have added more sugar. Again, once you add sugar, you got to wait at least 24 to 48 hours before using the solution. But what we're going to do is, I've got here my spray tank. There's 1 gallon of water in here. And to use a spray tank, all I'm taking is a towel, any towel from your laundry will work. I made sure that I also rinse this off to make sure there was no fabric softeners or anything else in here. I cleaned it out, and all I'm gonna do is use it to basically sift any of the coarse materials that may be in my compost tea. And we're just gonna take probably about 5 to 10 tablespoons worth of this product. And you can see how it's passing through, leaving behind all of the coarser materials. And that's now all in there in 1 gallon of water. We'll now put this back on top. Pump it. And now spray it. And this is going to be a lot easier than a spray bottle to be able to spray the tops of the leaves as well as get underneath the leaf to make sure that all of the stomata are absorbing all of these nutrients that we've now just added to our foliar spray. So again, we're going to be doing this for our Meyer lemon. Over here to the side, we've got our Eureka lemon tree. So we'll be doing the same thing. We're going to apply it to all the leaves. We're going to go as low as we can, and we're going to try to go as high as we can too. I'm going to take my time and finish the process, but let me show you a couple more trees you can benefit as well. We got our banana tree over here. And our Bear's lime tree. Our Haas avocado tree. Because this video is based on wintertime care of your plants, there's one other thing I want to share with you, and the timing couldn't be perfect. I've discovered that there's some type of underground rodent that is working its way throughout the garden. I don't know if you're going to be able to identify this, but I'm going to share with you how I've discovered it. And it's not just here, it's made its way pretty much throughout this entire backyard garden. One underground creature has been digging tunnels underneath everything, and it's not a gopher, as it's not creating mounds, but there's these cracks in the soil. If you want to try to zoom in over here, I'm going to see if I can point this out to you. I'm going to put on my gloves because I'm going to try to open it up, but maybe you can see the cracks that are happening along this area over here and continuing up to here, and then it kind of gets lost under some of these wood chips. So there's a line that's passing this way, and I'm going to try to see if I can open this up for you so you can observe it as well. And there it is, sure enough. I've got my hand in the hole. And just to show you how long these tunnels run, I've got my hose, and you can see how high it's on. Watch this, it's gonna go right in the hole, and watch how much water it's gonna take. This is something that just happened in the garden probably within the last week, definitely less than 7 days ago, because I corrected this and improved the round mound that I have around this tree less than a week ago. And then when I watered it, it was supporting water. And another way I discovered it was when I watered it last, the water wouldn't hold as it all went and got diverted through these tunnels. It's really important to make sure you visit your trees. It's a good idea to also stick your hands, and I've got my gloves here in case I happen to tap something, or in case he comes out, I'm ready to catch him. And just to let you know, 1 out of 10 times the gopher will pop out of the hole by doing just this. And again, it's not a gopher. It's more likely than not a mole, as I've identified a couple of moles here on the property. Another creature that also does these small tunnels around your gardens is also known as voles, which are like small mice. So as you can see, it's drinking quite a bit of water. All of that's gone. All of that's going into these tunnels that are going alongside and possibly even going underneath this deck. So here it is. What we're going to do is I'm going to collapse these holes to make sure that when I go to water these trees next, that the water in fact stays around the tree. In the meantime, I'm doing a few things to try to capture it. When it comes to controlling rodents in your property, the first advisable thing to do is to use a repellent, and secondly, to try to trap it, and lastly, to use poisons, as poisons can work their way into the food chain that surround your home and affect the wildlife that's surrounding you. So I'll put a video link down below with a few options on how to control these critters in your garden. Aside from diverting water, the damage to your plant can be far greater. And take a look at all of the educational videos that are out there on gnawing rodents, or another word that's used for identifying damage to trees is called, so another word to be looking for when doing your research on this is girdling. Girdling caused by rodents. And girdling to trees can happen by moles, voles, squirrels, rats, rabbits, and the list continues on and on and on. And what we're going to do, and we've actually lost one of our lemon trees. It was a standard sized lemon tree that was here in the garden. It's 3 years old. It grew from 6 feet to 18 feet within 3 years and supported over 200 lemons, and got girdled by one of these moles that was discovered here in the garden. Again, it tunneled all around the plant, and when it gets especially hungry, and this is usually a phenomenon that happens in winter when there's fewer insects in your soil, they'll now resort to your trees and try to suck those sugars out of the sap, and they achieve that by girdling your trees. They'll gnaw on the bark and get to the sugars underneath because they're so hungry. That's one source of food for these animals. To prevent this from happening, I want to share these two products with you. One being, it's actually the same product, two different labels, but Ivy Organic 3-in-1 Tree Guard, and this here says it's a natural tree trunk and branch barrier protection against damaging sunburn and insects and rodents for use on your rose, fruit, and nut trees, ornamental trees, and shrubs. It's a non-toxic, environmentally safe, and organic product. And the reason, let me share the lid with you as well. It says ideal for new plantings and transplants, save injured and damaged trees, prune and exposed surfaces. And the reason I brought the yellow can is this is going to be our newest label that's going to be coming out sometime in 2017, which is now registered material for use in organic agriculture with the Washington State Department of Agriculture. And that's the reason I'm sharing this beautiful new label with you guys. What the product has, among other oils, is castor oil. And castor oil is a known repellent to rodents. And what we're going to do here is simply take our can of product, and I've mixed this before the video. It comes as a paint powder with the oils that you add water to. And what we're going to do here is simply brush it on to the tree. But before I start, what I want to do is get as close as I can to the bottom of those roots so I can apply the product as close as I can to the soil baseline. And now we're just going to apply it at the base and just go up. And again, the paint powder is helping to adhere itself to the plant. And then the oils are going to be infused with the paint both below, within, and underneath, so that if any rodent dares to bite on this plant, it's going to get a mouthful of castor oil and hopefully leave this plant alone. And that concludes this lesson. So if you've enjoyed this educational video from Ivy Organics, be sure to like it, and most importantly, subscribe down below so you'll be connected to all the other educational videos that we share. Thanks again for watching, and happy gardening.